Hello, members one and all of the Salivation Nation, and why did gold go up today? Well, you can probably ask that question most every day, and for some of us, really it doesn't matter a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, but sometimes it's fun to kind of speculate or to analyze some of this or to kind of dig in a little bit to see what's going on and why these metals are moving and what affects their price. It looks like it's hedge funds that jump back into gold, buying, ending 4 weeks of selling. This is the news for April 2nd from Kitco. After 4 weeks of selling, hedge funds jumped back into the gold market and pushed prices to a 5.5-week high, according to the latest trade data from the Commodities Futures Trading Commission. The CFTC's disaggregated commitments of traders report for the week ending March 27th showed money managers increasing their speculative gross long positions in COMEX gold futures by 34,928 contracts to 183,080. At the same time, short bets fell by 15,428 contracts to 20,917. Gold's net length increased to 162,163 contracts. The data show that the market saw its most significant shift in bullish sentiment in nearly 2 years. Gold's net length jumped 45% from previous week. The strong buying momentum pushed prices up more than 2% during the survey period, hitting a 5-week high. And just to be clear, this is buying gold futures, not necessarily buying physical gold. According to many analysts, a perfect storm hit the gold market as the Federal Reserve signaled that it was in no hurry to raise interest rates. Now, as you know, they have planned a couple of rate hikes, 3 more for this year, but apparently they aren't in a hurry for the next one, according to this report. And investors fled to safe haven assets due to rising geopolitical concerns and the growing threat of a trade war. So there you go. So there's all those different factors. You've got fears with Russia, China, North Korea still in some ways. You know, there's going to be a meeting between Trump and Kim Jong-un, and there was already a meeting with China and North Korea. And of course, the trade war, China has announced these a whole slew of items, trade items that will be hit with massive tariffs. So it's another blow in what I think we're already in a sense, we're already in a trade war. Gold specs aggressively increased their net length as Fed Chair Powell delivered a dovish hike, which gives bulls the ammunition needed to pile on longs, while shorts were forced to cover. As the yellow metal rallied some $50 an ounce in the aftermath of the hike, said analysts at TD Securities in a report on Monday. George Garrow, managing director with WBC Wealth Management, said that the weeks of lower prices coupled with falling open interest represented the perfect opportunity for bargain hunters. He added that he expects hedge funds to continue to buy gold. Attention is back on gold as investors are shunning bonds and equities. The gold market has solid geopolitical underpinnings. While investors were buying gold, they were ignoring other precious metals. During the survey period, the gold-silver ratio continued to trade near a 2-year high. And we talked about that before. It's at pretty much an all-time high at around 80-1. Starting to squeeze a bit now. Analysts have said that the rising ratio is a sign that investors are more interested in its safe haven assets. While silver is considered a monetary metal, it does have a significant industrial market, and you've heard me talk about that many times. That silver is unique in that way because it is seen just as much, if not more so, as a commodity than it is a monetary metal. So it makes it a cyclical commodity, which means that it is a sort of volatile in its price movement. The disaggregated report showed money-managed speculative gross long positions in COMEX silver futures fell by 611 contracts to 31,988. At the same time, short positions fell by 2,180 contracts to 66,262. Silver's net short position now stands at 34,264 contracts, relatively unchanged from the previous week. And that's when you're getting into the paper markets and the futures and understanding long and shorts and it's interesting to kind of look into that, but that's diving a little bit deeper than I care to. But it's fascinating to see what's going on and what's being bought and sold and how that's having an effect on the price. And we see the stock market had fallen almost 700 points and then recovered for a loss of a couple hundred points today, but the stock market's been volatile as well. So despite the weakest bullish sentiment among fund managers, silver saw solid gains, with the price rising 2% during the survey period. While silver has been a disappointment for many investors, some analysts continue to see potential for the white metal. So silver has a future, and to a chance to really go up, especially with that ratio being where it is. As quickly as it's moved this way, you never know, it could move the other way to tighten that ratio up a bit. The bullish precious metal sentiment highlights the potential for silver to outperform this year as a spec positioning and continues to make record lows, TDS said. So let's take a quick peek at the gold and silver prices as of the recording of this video. We see silver is up more by percentage than gold, tightening it up slightly a bit to 1671 as of the recording of this video, and 1342 for gold. Platinum is up a bit, but still under that $1,000 level. And palladium is still trading higher than platinum, but it fell pretty drastically today at 1.79%. And I think that's because palladium itself is pretty much purely a commodity or an industrial metal. It's not seen as much as money as an investment or hedge as platinum is. But we see now there are some bullion products made of palladium. And so it's certainly fascinating to see its use being picked up by a lot of the major mints out there, including the United States Mint. And this year, the United States Mint will create a proof version of the Palladium Eagle. I'm looking forward to that. But that's sort of a side note. But very interesting to see how this story has evolved about how gold is going up and how there's a future for silver. That there's some sentiment towards silver to outperform this year compared to gold. So we shall see. But nonetheless, it's a fascinating story. And as I say pretty much now as a constant, when I make videos like this, when I'm kind of talking about the markets and what's happening today with the markets, the real way you should pay attention is the long game, to see what the trend is for a long term. But there are things that happen daily that I think are newsworthy and worth taking a look at, because I think it's the long position is essentially a collective of the shorts of what's happening from day to day. And we see gold taking a bit of a climb today, and silver too. So I think it's good to kind of take a look and see, because you never know. Some of these same types of things can happen again, and we can kind of see where gold's going to go and silver's going to go. I mean, if the Fed raises the rates, then typically that means they think the economy's growing too fast. They would kind of stave it off a bit, and that means we have a healthy economy by and large. So that means we're going to see gold and silver go down or stay level. And if they don't, then they begin to fear a little bit like they did today, and the prices go up. So always interesting and fascinating stuff. Notice we didn't talk about the dollar index. It wasn't mentioned in this article, and I'm not even going to look it up, because sometimes there are situations where the dollar index may not play a role. And though typically gold and silver prices do react to the dollar index, and it could be that the dollar index reacted to this news as well with the trade war and everything. But we see here that the article talks about how there's been a lot of buying of gold and silver futures. So that I think is the reason for this price hike here. So post your thoughts below. I'd like to extend the multitude of gratitude y'all for watching and encourage you to please rate, comment, and subscribe.